we haven't talked about, I mean, we touched on the corners, but I think we should dive into those more. And then obviously the quarterbacks. What is your, I guess, what has your impressions been of the cornerback group, Joey Porter and Dante Jackson included?
Yeah, I mean, Dante Jackson, I think, has been quiet, which for a corner, generally a good thing,
Yeah.
he's not standing out because he's, not getting beat for, a bunch of passes or a bunch of touchdowns or anything like that. And
Yep.
Joey Porter is Joey Porter.
Yeah.
So I have no concerns there. But yeah, I mean, Dante Jackson, can't really say much about him, but I think that's a good thing, quite honestly. I think Dante Jackson being, I don't know, a league average corner is something that you could absolutely live with.
Yep.
And you touched on Darius Rush too. I 1000% agree. He was probably the best player at OTAs this week. Of anyone on the field, I don't think there was anyone who had a better week. This guy was getting challenged, but he was making plays just about everywhere. Big receivers, small receivers, guys with speed, guys with power. He was making plays against all of them. So Darius Rush, a lot bigger than I
remember. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, like huge. Like at least 6'3". I would have to imagine he's got some weight on him too. Like, man, this guy looks like he looks the part. I'll say that.
Yes.
The thing that I am a little worried about, I don't think any of their slot options have really stood out. I don't think Beanie Bishop has looked particularly very good. I'm trying to think of the other Anthony Averett. I don't think has been particularly impressive either. I don't think there's an answer at slot corner right now. I think they have options right now, but none of those options have really. None of them stood out to me during week one, at least. I don't know if you feel any differently.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. The slot guys have not, and maybe it's because like I'm not noticing it. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm not paying attention, but you've noticed like a play where like Dante, even if you just caught it like out of the corner of your eye, like, oh, Dante Jackson, that was good coverage on like a guy like Calvin Austin, who's way faster than almost anybody on this team. And you're like, oh, okay, that was good. Or Joey Porter Jr. is Joey Porter Jr. And you immediately, I don't think I've seen Joey Porter Jr. get beat in practice in like a year since like George Pickens was roasting him last training camp. And it's the same, like Darius Rush is coming up with, just like you said, play after play after play. Corey Trice looks good in individual drills. The inside guys, I mean, like I haven't even noticed Beanie Bishop. Haven't even noticed him on the field. Anthony Averett, I only notice when somebody has the football and he's running behind him, like, which isn't good. And I'm not saying that that these guys can't be the answer. I'm just saying that 1 week through, it's not the best signal that Darius Rush and Corey Trice, who isn't even on team drills, are more exciting to talk about than your starting slot corner, who's a veteran in this league and who is being viewed as a guy who should start. I agree. I think that, again, it's early. It's in shorts, but my outlook is very simple. This wide receiver core is not impressive enough to say, like last year, if it was Deontay Johnson and George Pickens and they were beating Joey Porter Jr. all the time, you're like, all right, yeah, like I mean, I would probably get beat by George Pickens and Deontay Johnson too. This year, if it's not George Pickens, you're like, oh, okay, you shouldn't have got beat. Like you should at least be competing at all times with these guys. And I think at times that's not the case, which is concerning. I think the slot corner is, just like you said, like the only like out of the group.
Yeah. And when you're going into a season where you've got to face, Jamar Chase twice.
Yes.
You've got to face Cooper. Zay Flowers. Yeah. Like Zay Flowers twice. I'm trying to think of who else on the schedule. I mean, Devontae Smith. There are other names out there, but I mean, just in the AFC North alone, like slot receivers or slot corner is not a position that you can afford to overlook if you're the Steelers. It's really, really important for them. It's really, really critical going into this year. So, and I don't think they're overlooking it at all. That's not what I meant to imply, but I mean, none of these options are really standing out at this point. And so that's the thing that we're going into next week in the practices, the rest of the practices that they have leading up to mid-June is, okay, are any of these guys going to start making some plays? Are any of these guys going to stand out? Are any of these guys going to give the Steelers a reason to not look at Patrick Peterson, to not look at Cam Sutton? Because at this rate, you are going to have to more seriously consider a Cam Sutton if you want to win football games against the schedule.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, like, somebody asked me, like, when would the Steelers trade for a wide receiver? I think it's the same time they'd sign a corner. Like, I think it's open for any time. Like, I think from this day forward, they'd look at it and say, all right, look, we got a first glimpse. We understand, because that's the thing is like that the rest of this team looks so good. You know, it looks deep, even like every position, like every single one of them. You're like, oh, okay, look at that was an impressive rep by whoever, you know, and to have really two glaring needs where you're like, oh, okay, look at, I think that Omar Khan's looking at it and going, a move could be made at any moment as long as it makes sense. And I think the Steelers are working towards getting those done. So it wouldn't surprise me if you know, tomorrow, but it also wouldn't surprise me if, you know, the middle of July they're making a move, or August they're making a move. I'm just saying that the window, I think, has finally opened to where a guy like Cam Sutton could be headed to the Pittsburgh Steelers, or Patrick Peterson, or anybody who's on their radar. I agree.